too small, I got big.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Pun Fun, where we have fun with the puns. My name is Brian, and we have an interesting guest with us today from the Montreal Comiccon. That's where we met. I'm here with Jonathan Jourdenais. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. And as I've mentioned, we met at Montreal Comic Con, and I've also saw within your Instagram that was actually one of your first shows.
It was, yeah. Was my second show actually.
First Comic Con.
Yeah, first Comic Con, but I did a show, a personal show, like a month before with some friends. We created this expo, just six friends that had never done anything before. So it was
how did that turn out? Does it have a title?
Yeah, it was Expo Hazard, which it was a pun, a French pun for random people just together.
Right.
And we worked on it for like maybe 4 or 5 months.
Wow.
And turned out we had about 100 person that came, so it was pretty good. Wow. And it was a good exercise for the Comic-Con, a month later. So it was great experience.
Very cool. And on that, so you're a local artist, right? Here from Montreal.
Yeah.
Can you give us more about your background?
Yeah, so I studied I'm from Montreal, of course, and I studied movies because movies are my passion. I wanted to be a filmmaker when I was younger.
Wow.
Turned out it wasn't for me. I love movies, but making them, the process of it is way too. I don't have the personality for it.
Okay.
So I've always been drawing, so I went to study animation after that. I've been working in animation for 15 years. And I started working on my own stuff, personal stuff, more about maybe 3 years ago. So yeah.
Very cool. And so when is it? So you said you've been drawing before you went into animation. Was it more on a hobby base, or was this more towards your career or more towards your profession?
It's always been about a hobby, but I always had in my mind I wanted to be a filmmaker, but I also wanted to do comics. And it was always a hobby that I wanted to turn into a job someday. But now it's still a hobby. I always want to think about it as a hobby. I don't want it, because when it becomes a job in your mind, it's something else. There's pressure.
Right. There's like a certain I understand what you mean, like a certain pressure / I guess nobody wants to call work really, even if you enjoy what you do, you'd rather just say, hey, I'm going to do this today. No, I definitely get you on that. So when we met, you also were with Art by Christelle, another artist that is doing amazing things here, and she's also local as well.
And I studied with her also.
That's amazing.
She was a classmate. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And speaking of classmates, we mentioned off screen, you actually studied with Boom as well, right? Past guest we've had on our show. If you haven't seen it, we'll link it up here so you can see what her art is all about. But it's so cool to see that our local talent is actually, striving and, breaking through, I guess the industry, right? Because it's not an easy place. It's become so saturated with a bunch of stuff. It's hard to get your name out there, or even to be heard or seen, rather, in this case. So definitely kudos to you guys for having the wheels roll.
The internet is kind of a blessing and a curse, because it's a blessing because your work can be seen anywhere, but also it's, like you said, it's so saturated. It's like a drop of water in the ocean.
Right.
Whenever you release an illustration, so yeah.
And speaking of your illustrations, so going through your work, it's very diverse. So it's a lot of for the most part, it's really regarding pop culture, a lot of music too. So I see in the background you do have one of the covers that you got inspired by, obviously. And it went. There's also a transition, right? So I've seen parts where it's like a gamer bubble, where you would see kind of the background or the environment with the main character, for example. And we went on to more singularity. So you'll have the profile of characters, movie characters, Then there's like this blending of the background with this let's say I'm wearing blue today, the background would be blue as well to kind of mimic match all together, which I found was very cool. And then I got onto your stuff, which was like, movie posters and recreating them in your own style, in your own way, because it's not, verbatim from what the movie poster is, but right away you know exactly where you got inspiration from, which was amazing. And Legos, that's one thing that I didn't expect.
My passion. Yeah,
I saw that, and it was, everything is awesome, and it's really well done. It's fun. And another thing for your work, it's very vibrant and it pops, which I've always enjoyed. So where did you get your I know you said you wanted to be a movie maker, a director, and then you went more into the drawing world, but what influenced you growing up to get into this industry or to align yourself towards this industry?
I'd say like I always say that the first thing that made me realize I wanted to be a creative person was the day my father brought me to see Tim Burton's Batman in 1989.
Okay. Wow.
Yes, classic. I'm 41 years old. And so I don't know, that film, it hit me like a punch in the face. It was, I had never seen anything like that. I know Tim Burton was the first director of it. It's when I realized that the movie had a director, it had a certain vision and actors, what they were. And so that movie gave me like the interest for comics, and I started reading comics, and oddly I was into Marvel and not DC.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
But I thought that maybe I think maybe it's because Marvel had more colors, and I've always been drawn to colors, and the characters were more relatable.
Right. I feel exactly. Marvel I found was easier for kids to grasp. Kind of what it was. It was very surrealistic, so it's really fun and happening. Whereas I found obviously DC was more realist, or one was surrealist, one was more realist in terms of
I can't understand how a 8-year-old kid would read a serious Batman story and enjoy it. When you can read about 15-year-old Peter Parker. So
absolutely.
So yeah, that's the definite moment that I realized I wanted to be part of that. So I learned how to draw better and the world of comics and movies and stuff like that. So yeah.
That's awesome. And I know we spoke about the poster behind me. So this is actually one that I think drawn me towards your group like right away. I was dressed as Bebop.
You had one of the best costumes. I said it before, but
thank you.
Most memorable costume of the con.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, I've always loved Ninja Turtles, and I was like, what better way to run homage, especially with Eastman there too. I was like, hey, let's just go for it. And I think that's what made us, clicked right away. But this was a beauty. I mean, when I saw this, it really brought me a rush of nostalgia right away. I knew I had to have it, and it was just fitting the way that. Anyways, I'm gonna let you talk about it. Like for something like this, for example, how do you get this rolling? How do you get your thought process and art process rolling for something this big and with so much elements in it?
It's I don't know. For me, it's more like trial and errors. I obviously I start with a sketch or a basic idea of where I want to go, the composition and stuff. But usually the colors, I let my imagination go, and it was easier with this piece because Ninja Turtles are defined by colors. So so I just had to find the composition that I was comfortable with and just let myself go. And I knew for this one that I wanted the Shredder to be like this dominant,
menacing.
Yeah. So but it was one of the most fun I had doing a poster like this.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's so cool. And even with the Foot Clan, that's something we don't really see in the posters. It's usually like a secondary, but I love the fact that they're very present here. Very, very well done. And so I've also seen you have done posts where the turtles were on their own, so kind of like
Yeah.
how we mentioned the color, matching the background. So was this a secondary thought in the sense that you've done the turtles first, and then you're like, oh, you know what, this poster was a product of that, or was this your main, mission? But you were showing us basically a breakdown as you were, through your social platforms and so on.
It was, I'd say, I don't know which one came first, but I know the idea for the poster came because I wanted to have their how do you say in English?
Bandanas?
Fit the background color. That was the main idea, and I think I started with the idea of doing this poster, but it was just fun as well to have them on their own with the bright color,
Right.
So it's the poster came first, but after that I did also the shredder by itself also. But I think the poster came first. I don't really remember, but the two of them, I worked the two of them
side by side. So there isn't a chicken and the egg. It was just like it just happened. So that's great. And the show's all about puns. There was actually some few puns within your posts, which are another checkpoint and another bonus point for sure. Like there is a Gremlin poster you made just for the holidays, and you wrote "Stay Frosty, my friends," which is a very complex and leveled pun, if you want, because obviously you have Frosty, which is allusion to Frosty the Snowman, but it's also a quote from the Aliens saga, right? So you have the mercenary that says "Stay Frosty." So again, very 90s oriented. And is that something that is a theme within your art? I've noticed that you tend to stay within the nostalgic era for the moment. Is that intentional, or was there or is that just like you knowing that stuff that you love and putting it down to art?
The Stay Frosty wasn't mine. It's actually from this piece. The Gremlin piece was designed for the Hero Complex Gallery in Los Angeles. Okay. I don't know if you know that gallery.
No, but that's cool.
It's I've been working with two galleries in Los Angeles for the past 2 years. They do exhibitions. There's Gallery 1988. I don't know if you know.
That one I do, but not the first one.
Yeah. And the other one is HCG. It's Hero Complex Gallery, and they do exhibition like Gallery 1988. And that one was the Stay Frosty was about pop culture films for Christmas time. So that was the theme. So the name of the exhibition was Stay Frosty. So that's
very cool.
That's why. Yeah. So I think the Ninja Turtle one was for Gallery 1988 also. So
there you go.
First,
okay, perfect.
Yeah.
That's
so I always print when I go to to Comic-Cons. I always print variants. So I'm not sure what the variant for this one is, but I can't sell the same that they have in the gallery. So
it's like an exclusive to them.
Yeah, that's why my Gremlins is green now, and the one they have at AGC is purple. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. And so speaking of having to work with these art galleries, by all means, that's awesome. What other projects do you have coming up or down the pipeline that you like our viewers to know about?
Well, right now I'm working on maybe you've seen my Jack Burton on Instagram that I posted weeks ago. I think a week ago. I'm working on a Big Trouble in Little China poster. I'm a big John Carpenter fan, and I know that they have Gallery 1988 has an exhibition in September. I think that it's called Crazy for Cult. It's their biggest exhibition. It's the one that comes every year. It's the only one that's been there since the beginning, I think. Oh, wow. And this one is all about cult movies. So I think last year I worked on, I don't remember which, I think it was I don't remember. I've been doing so many. So, but so I've
That's
decided
a good problem
to work.
To have, yeah.
I've been working on Big Trouble in Little China and maybe a Superman 1978 also.
Wow.
piece. So I'm not sure which one will get done first, but the Big Trouble in Little China one is it's complex. Yeah,
wow.
Started many characters. So yeah.
I can imagine, because the poster itself has so many elements, and then will it be based on the poster, the original poster, or will it be based on stuff that was within the movies that you'll incorporate, or is that like top secret stuff we can't mention?
No, it's more about stuff that I like from the movie. So there's Jack Burton, there's David Lopan.
Okay.
And, I'm not gonna say more, but
no, that's fine. Very interesting. That is very cool, but
it's a fun project. It's a fun movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, if you haven't seen it yet, we would highly suggest you check it out. Definitely one of the classics, and that's another thing I've noticed. You really go for the classics too. Yeah. So it's very cool. And for someone, so you've said it's been a couple of years that you've been rolling within at shows, and then putting now your thoughts into art rather than the animation world. So for someone who want to take that step, go into, for example, a convention, or even, reaching out and just getting yourself, I guess, aware from, the world that's around us. What would your words of wisdom be for them?
Honestly, the only thing I would say to any aspiring artist is to always do it for the love of it. I mean, do it for fun. It has to be fun,
right?
Like I said, if it starts to feel more like work, then you're not doing the right thing, in my mind. And always, because it's tough to put yourself out there. It's this is my art, and if you don't like it, it's tough. Everybody wants to be liked, but if I find that when I started, when I was younger and I started, I always tried to emulate comic artists that I liked, like Jim Lee or Mark Bagley when I was growing up. And that was not my style. So it always came up clunky and weird. And so when I developed my style about 2 years ago, it came by accident. I was just doodling on my iPad. And I was just watching a Wes Anderson movie, which is one of my favorite director, and I started doing. I'm obsessed with symmetry.
Okay.
And like Wes Anderson and Kubrick, which are my two best directors, and I started doodling this character, and I wanted to make it like symmetrical.
Right.
And that's how my style began. Everything has to be symmetrical, and it was just I wasn't trying to emulate something. I was just trying to have fun with what I was doing, and people reacted to it, and I started doing characters like that because it was fun. And now I'm up to maybe, I think Jack Burton was like number 93 of those characters. So my advice is just do it, just have fun, and do what you like. Just let your pen go, and eventually you'll find your style, and people will react to that. So,
that is great news. That's definitely great words of advice. I think that's one thing. We're always gonna have critiques, and as they say, haters online. But one of the biggest critiques is yourself, right? So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that's why that you found your go-to style.
Yeah, and that's why I was scared to go to Comic-Cons and just show my stuff, because you don't know how people are going to react. But once you start getting comfortable with your stuff, and people will react to it. There's always people that are going to like or hate what you do.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Yep.
So the important thing is that you like what you're doing. So
very cool. And just before we go, we always embarrass our guests with one last request, which is, can you leave us with a pun?
Oh, wow. The sad thing is I'm not comfortable with English, but in French, I'm so good with puns. That's like my number one thing, but I can't do puns in English. So.
Oh, well, I'll go ahead. Try it in French, and I'll see if I can translate or if it even makes sense.
Oh, wow. Wow. You caught me off guard. I can't.
That's fine. You know what? Because we worked with the Stay Frosty, my friends, I think we'll keep that one for now. But yeah, hopefully next time we do meet up, for something that's more project oriented, you'll be ready for our pun of the last pun of our show. Cool. And if you guys have enjoyed our episode, we highly suggest you hit that like button. Also, we would highly suggest you hit that subscribe button. This way you stay on top. For all of the other and future artists that we have here on our show, this way you get to discover new artists, if not see your favorite artist, but also their art process and what goes within their mind and how they got here. To begin with, thank you again, Jonathan, for being here. Much success to you, and we'll definitely keep in touch. I mean, I'm probably going to see you at every show, every time here in Montreal. So kudos to you for taking that big leap. And take it easy, guys. Peace.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you.
All right, bye.